Back from the dead. Yes, Magic Lantern is back. We're going to read about it. But before we get started, like this video, hit the subscribe button, and consider joining the channel. Channel members get exclusive access to Filmmaker Alchemy, behind-the-scenes lessons and insights on the business of video production. Learn how to turn your content into gold. If you don't know what Magic Lantern is, well, let me tell you. Back in the day, in the good old days of the DSLR revolution, a few... I don't know what you want to call them. They're not really, not criminals, certainly not criminals. Maybe, I don't know, those people that just kind of like, hackers, testers, people who like to break things apart and put them back together. They hacked open the Canon cameras. The 5D Mark II might have been the first one way back when. If I'm getting my memory, maybe it was the 70, or maybe the 70 wasn't hackable. There was all this nuance and variation of what you could do and what you couldn't do. And back in the day, Magic Lantern was the way that you got extra features out of your Canon cameras. You got cool like overlays, zebras, extra displays. You could also clean up your HDMI signal. In fact, on some cameras, you even got RAW capabilities. Now, this was not RAW like you would shoot with a RED camera. It wasn't really usable or practical in a, hey, you want to film everything this way, because it was uncompressed. Imagine just raw photos, but in a video stream, just full raw, like insane. We had to get, special, was it CFast? No, it was compact flash, CF cards back in the day. And, it was fun to play around and test some stuff out. If you go way back on this channel, I even have some Magic Lantern tests with my Canon 60D. Gosh, I don't even remember how long ago that was, but it was certainly neat. It was fun. It was a good time to experiment. The GH1 was also a big kind of hack at the time, the GH13, which I've talked plenty about. But now Magic Lantern is back, and it's kind of crazy because they went quiet for the longest time, and now they're back. Isn't that fun? Here we go. Over on the Magic Lantern forums. It's been a long journey, but official Magic Lantern builds return for all cameras. Unfortunately, on that list currently, you will not find the 5D Mark IV. You'll find the 5D Mark II, the 5D Mark III, but they never cracked really fully the 5D Mark IV, which is the one I would be most excited about, because one of the biggest things that irritates me about the 5D Mark IV is that it does have 4K. It kind of sucks though. It's not great. If you want to use it as an HDMI camera, great. It's awesome. You got a full frame camera. If you have a lot of Canon EF lenses, makes sense, right? HDMI, it even has the clean feed. Canon for the longest time never gave us a clean feed. 5D Mark IV, you have a clean feed. However, good old Canon offering up their cripple hammer, as always. The HDMI output on the 5D Mark IV times out after 30 minutes. So let's say you have your camera set up in like a HDMI, like webcam, or you want to run it to like a switchboard and you just want to run HDMI signal, clean HDMI, which they do give you. Finally, Canon did that. It still times out after 30 minutes. So the camera will just kind of do that shutter cycle sound. It'll click off and it'll just go black and it'll go back to photo mode, and you have to hit the button to refresh, toggle it back on. Magic Lantern fixed that in some of the other cameras, but the 5D Mark IV was never supported with Magic Lantern, so it's still to this day something I cannot use the 5D Mark IV for, which would be really nice. Clean HDMI, even if you only need 1080p, because that is all it is. I don't believe the HDMI is 4K. It might be, but regardless, even I would probably just be using it for 1080p anyway. I just want the thing to stay on longer than 30 minutes, and it's so stupid it doesn't. But I'm getting off topic into personal nitpicks and grievances. But this is why so many people left Canon to begin with, because you had to do goofy stuff like Magic Lantern just to use the camera like anyone else let you use it. Sony, Lumix, they all had great video features, good support for true hybrids, getting the best of both worlds, photo and video, and Canon for the longest time just neglected to support any video side of their hybrids, which back then you always had people say, we'll just get a real video camera. But meanwhile, what did everyone do? They went and bought the real video camera, which was a Sony. And people wonder, oh, well, what happened to Canon? Oh, wow, Sony got really... Yeah, exactly. That's why. So what does this mean for you? I'm reading over at Magic Lantern on the forum. There will be regular releases for all cams. Releases will be tested. Official releases will be on the main website, Never in Forum threads, so you can go download it over there. And here's some of the more popular Magic Lantern cameras, the 6D Mark II, the 7D Mark II, etc. Yes, here's a summary, so we can dive into this. I read through it once, but it's good to refresh as well. Summary, around 2020, our old lead dev, Alex, A1EX, if you want to spell it out, but Alex, I'll say, after years of hard work, left the project. The documentation was fragmentary. Nobody understood the build system. A very small number of volunteers kept things alive, but nothing worked well. Nobody had deep knowledge of Magic Lantern code. Those that remained had to learn how everything worked, then fix it, then add support for new cams without breaking the old ones. We have an updated website. We have a new repo. We have new supported models. We have a new build system. We have cleaner, faster, smaller code. And introducing the new Magic Lantern core team, Gego, Ketor, names are hard, Walter Schultz. I'm probably not saying those the way they're supposed to be said, but when you have numbers and letters, hey, I'll just take my best guess. I declare myself, the names are hard, username, to be the new lead dev, at times the only dev. We're using Git now, so over on GitHub, you can access some of this stuff. We build on modern OSs with modern tooling. We compile clean, no warnings. This was a lot of work and invisible to users, but very useful for devs. It's easier than ever to join as a dev. Also, maybe why I'm making this video, if you have any inclination into coding or you want to play around with this stuff, I don't know, have at it. It seems like it's kind of open source to a certain degree, and you can participate if you'd like. It's not my specialty. I have no idea what I'm doing. If I was typing code, I would definitely break things. But hey, maybe you're certainly willing. Go over to GitHub and check them out. If you would like to improve Magic Lantern or make your cam work, ask us how. We can teach you, and we need devs. The main thing you need is knowledge of C, which is a small language that has good tutorials. The C language. Cam support. The old supported cams continue to work well. The new cams at this time have fewer features, but they support 2 more recent generations of Digic, 6 and 7. I think the 5D Mark IV is Digic 6, if I'm remembering correctly, but I very well could be getting that wrong. Thus, they represent a great deal of work. These were new hardware platforms, and old Magic Lantern code was not designed to support this variation in hardware. Many fundamental changes in how the code supports different generations were made, all while carefully not breaking support for old cameras. Here's the newly supported camera list: the 200D, the 6D Mark II, the 750D, it's a Rebel T6i, the 72, and that's the list for now. I really, fingers crossed, love to see the 5D Mark IV on that list. I don't care about RAW. I don't care about anything other than getting rid of that stupid 30-minute HDMI timer. It is so infuriating. And I could actually put those cameras to good use if I had the means to do so with Magic Lantern. Here we go, reading on. More detail is given in the separate threads, but generally the new cams have utility features such as intervalometer. Another thing missing on, if you remember back in those DSLR days, having to buy an external intervalometer just to snap and trigger those photos. There's still maybe a reason why you would want something like that, a hardware solution, but the moment I started doing time lapses on my Lumix cameras, I thought, oh, this is the way you got to do it. It's all built right in. You just program in the menu. Lumix got time lapses right for the longest time. I think some of the other camera companies have kind of figured it out and built it in. But back in these days when we were shooting on these types of cameras, these DSLRs, you had to buy all these extra dongles and devices, and even your intervalometer, you'd have to, oh, the battery's died, oh, I got to replace it. Such a nightmare. It's a wonder. You just build all that stuff right into the camera, and hey, look how nice it is. And people use it, and they like it, and they buy it, and they recommend it. We've also got custom crop marks, shutter count, 30-minute live view, power save disable. So good for HDMI out webcam mode. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. The 5D Mark IV, it goes into power save mode after 30 minutes when you're just outputting HDMI. Super frustrating if you're trying to use it for really, 30 minutes is not all that long considering if you're getting something set up and it's an HDMI output to even like this board, the A10 Mini. I would love to be able to run a 5D Mark IV into it, but Alas, it's just not a good use for that camera at the current point in time. Maybe if it gets supported. The 200D has working raw video. It also has DPAF and dual ISO. The raw video output is a bit quirky, but useful results can be obtained with patience. Mask has added support in MoveApp. Oh my goodness, I'm getting a lot of alphabet soup over here. It goes on to talk about the 200D having more dynamic range, even more than the 5D Mark III. Now we have a solid framework to build on. Extending these cams with more features will be easier, and extending to Digic 8 and above becomes possible. Porting working features from 200D to similar cams is quite practical. Bonus new feature, we now know how to extend maximum recording time for MOV MP4. This is enabled on the 200D. Porting to other cams is not hard, with the exception of Digic 6. Again, I think that's that 5D Mark IV, unfortunately. Thanks to Space928 for finding a timer constant that allowed defining higher or lower limits. Isn't that cool? You just crack open the code and you find all these hidden goodies and you make it better. Isn't that awesome? Wouldn't it have been nice if Canon just made it that way from the beginning for all of us? So you didn't have to jump through all these hoops? Yeah, it would have been nice, wouldn't it? Instead, everyone just went and bought Sony cameras and Lumix cameras. Imagine that. Features that almost made it. Trap focus on the 7D Mark II. Okay, we got raw video on the 6D Mark II, not a thing. So the 200D was easier for technical reasons. The 7D Mark II will likely be difficult. The 6D Mark II is somewhere in the middle. The fundamental problem is a lack of understanding of EDMAC, whatever that is. I have no idea. Improvements here may be slow, but are likely to enable other new features, perhaps on older cameras. Cool. So we got some more credits here and all this. You can go read through this post over at Magic Lantern, but it's just big news. Magic Lantern is back. There's people who are actively working on this stuff again, which is nice considering it sounds like it all sort of ended in 2020. Maybe they've been doing stuff in the background, but if you were ever a fan of Magic Lantern or you want to revive maybe some old cameras that are sitting around, maybe there's some deals you can find on eBay, and maybe this is the type of stuff to give that hardware some longevity. I think one of the biggest, things that I do with my equipment is that I hold on to it if it has a use. I'm reluctant just to sell things to make a quick buck. Usually, in the grand scheme of things, it's easier to make money by working than by selling your old equipment. And if you can put your equipment to use and make money off of it, get money out of it, then you're probably going to make more money out of the equipment than you'll get just by flipping it and selling it. Now, that's not good advice for everybody. There's plenty of people where it does make sense if they're only ever using one camera body and that's it. Like, let's just say photography. You only have the one camera body and that's all you need. You're not working with a team. It's just you. And you want to upgrade to the newest thing and sell the old thing. By all means, go for it. Because if it's just going to sit on a shelf and collect dust, there's no point in hanging on to it. However, there are a lot of times where the more cameras you have, the more lenses you have, the more tripods, the support, the lights, whatever it is. As your gear collection grows, if you can put it to good use and make money off of it, then great, hang on to it. Because at the end of the day, $500 for an old, dusty camera, are you really going to feel that versus if you could make, $50, $100 off of it, even every month, month over month over month over month. It depends on your business. It depends on what you're doing. But I just like the idea of getting the most out of my investments, what I'm buying, rather than, always just trying to flip it to get to the next new thing. And then I'm always limited to having just one or two of a thing. I like the collection. I like the variety of things I can do with that. There's probably a little bit of waste and excess there to a certain degree. There's kind of the collector mentality as well. I think maybe not all of us have it, but some of us do, where you buy things and you like them. And even though I don't use it all the time, you still admire it on the shelf or you think fondly of it for sentimental reasons, whatever it might be. I like things like Magic Lantern because it takes old stuff and makes it new, gives it a refresh purpose. Something like an A10 mini board from Blackmagic is a great switchboard. I've recommended them plenty on this channel, and I probably still not enough because they really are solid pieces of hardware, but they're 1080p limited. You can't do 4K on the A10 mini board. You can record internally on cameras. If it's the Blackmagic camera, you can record 4K internally there and resync later. But if you're only running 1080p, well, does it matter if your camera is 4K, if the signal at HDMI? No, like you could just have 1080p, but you could have full frame, you could have good autofocus, you have all these things that you get on something like a 5D Mark IV. except that stupid 30-minute timer. So to fix that, now all of a sudden you get this great value out of something that otherwise I wouldn't even be using for, because I physically can't use it for that purpose. So that's what I like to see. I like projects like this where people are kind of, I don't know, testing and tinkering and tweaking and just making the most out of this hardware that clearly was not, shall we say, I don't want to say unlocked. I mean, sure, like this unlocks all the features that are buried in these cameras that Canon just said, well, you don't get that. You want that kind of stuff, you got to go pay more money for the more expensive version, even though the camera itself physically can do it. It's just limited on the software side. The hardware is totally capable. And that's super frustrating just from a principle standpoint. So for people like over at Magic Lantern, names are hard, whoever you are, appreciate the work, appreciate the update, and I hope to see more of it because this stuff is really cool. And again, they're not charging. I think you can probably donate over here, but they're not charging for this. That's incredible. And I love that there's people out there who are willing to do that, put their time, energy, and effort into something where maybe there is no return, maybe there is no financial reward, but it does make everything better, especially for all this aging hardware that ultimately might just be collecting dust. Well, now you maybe put it to good use, give it a new, fresh purpose, and save your A cam, your main cam for your big projects. But maybe you can do something fun with one of these older cameras, even if it is just a webcam or a simple multicam switchboard. You can have a lot of fun with this stuff, and it doesn't have to be super expensive, thanks to things like Magic Lantern.